Hello and welcome to the Football Pundits. We had a fantastic opening Premier League weekend and we're joined once again by die-hard Liverpool supporters Sriram and Nidhi to review what was a cracking opening Premier League weekend. All right, guys, welcome back to the Football Pundits. Sriram, I'm going to start
Thank
with
you.
you. Cracker of an opening fixture, wasn't it? Arsenal getting the 3 points under Arteta. Surely a transformation in place, isn't it?
It is actually. I mean, no one's really talking about Arsenal being in the mix for the top four, and I think that's been really unfair because amongst all the young coaches that are coming up, I think Mikel Arteta is tactically the most sound. He's done his apprenticeship under Pep Guardiola, so very few that are better than Pep Guardiola in the business, obviously. So I think again, if you look at the game as well, it's not just the fact that they won 3-0. I mean, yeah, everybody was expecting them to win the game, and they actually breezed past Fulham, right? So it was an easy win, but it's also the manner of victory. If you see the football again, they're playing free flowing football like they did under Arsene Wenger, but now they also have defensive surety as well at the back, right? So Gabriel looks like a really good signing. It's just one game, but he already looks the part. I think the start. He had one moment where he tried to dummy. He tried to dummy, and he almost dummied his own keeper. So I think that was like a huge. Everybody felt that is he going to be the right fit? But I think he redeemed himself, and how, man? I mean, I think got the goal and defensive solidity. So yeah, I think you should. Everybody is talking about Chelsea. Everybody's talking about United, but Arsenal's right up there, I think. And I mean,
It's
I
not an
think they have a better
Arsenal game
chance.
without Arsenal antics, is it? And Annie, I'll come to you. Willian, obviously, new signing, lots of pressure. No one really spoke about it, but lots of pressure on him to deliver. Lots of pressure on Arteta to really make sure that Willian fires because, well, he came on a free, but 32-year-old doesn't fit into the Arsenal construct of players or the traditional Arsenal construct of players. But man of the match performance in his debut. What did you make of that?
I think we spoke about Willian in the Premier League preview, both of us especially. And I did mention that I think Willian over the course of the season, you'll find out maybe that he was in the wrong London club all along. And I'm obviously saying it's the very first game, so I'm not going to give it too much credit. But you could see how easily he fit into the side. It's like he was always part of this side. He didn't have to put one foot in a different direction. He was playing naturally in the Arsenal way, not the Willian way, but the Arsenal way. And that's because Willian is naturally adept at playing it in an Arsenal side. But yeah, kudos to him. I felt that there were patches in the game where Fulham just about to try to do something, but Williams passing in general and linking up with the midfield, with Xhaka and getting his balls back is what shut Fulham out. That being said, it was Fulham. If it was a Leeds opening fixture away Arsenal, I don't know. But yeah, credit where it's due. Arteta was getting a bit of slack from some people saying that during his preseason he's been a little cold about his comments about the goalkeeper. He's not been too vocal about getting players. But you know what? They've got Ceballos back. He's happy. He's won the opening fixture. He's turned the playing style around. Kudos.
You mentioned Leeds in your analysis there, and I'm going to come to what was arguably the fixture of the opening weekend, Nidhi. Leeds, Liverpool, 4-3, goal rush,
Yeah.
7 goals in an opening fixture. I'm going to talk about, and I'm going to lay this on straight to you. People use the term title defense a lot, but I don't think this is a title defense. We're going to see Liverpool attacking their way to a second title this year, isn't it?
Exactly. I mean, that's exactly what Klopp said. We are going to attack the title. Frankly, because that's the strength that Liverpool has. I mean, not just through Klopp, but throughout the years. Yes, there is a very good defense. Yes, there is we have Virgil van Dijk, one of the world's best defenders, playing for us. But if you look at how Liverpool plays, everything is set up to score goals, right? From the fullbacks to the front three, even the likes of Naby Keita or Oxlade-Chamberlain providing that direct threat. That's how it is set up. Coming to the game itself, it was like a bit of a tennis match going on, really, right? There's a rally going on from both sides. I think the goals that we conceded, two of them were down to defensive errors, really. One in which Van Dijk that was the most obvious one. And frankly, I agree with Jamie Carragher there. It was down to a bit of complacency. Having said so, I don't think Virgil van Dijk is the kind of player that gets complacent. But it's just early days. But what a game! And credit to Leeds, they did not back down for even a minute. Even when they were, even if they did concede, they came right back, and that's credit to Bielsa and his team. Bielsa, sorry.
So Sriram, I'm going to go to you. Nidhi speaks about complacency with this Liverpool side, and it's understandable given the season that they had in the last one. Having won the title by January, one would argue, and going into an opening Premier League fixture against, let's not forget, a newly promoted side. Leeds was still a championship team last season. My question to you is, Sriram, that while you did concede 3 goals, and Nidhi spoke about the complacency in defense, 2 defensive errors, over the course of 38 games in the Premier League alone, we know this is going to be a very, very difficult season in terms of the number of fixtures and the frequency of fixtures. Should Liverpool have strengthened a little more in their backline, given there's also pressures of the Champions League coming up? And 2, what's going to happen when Liverpool now, let's say, play away at Old Trafford, when they play away at White Hart Lane, and the better sides with probably attacks that will not be so forgiving?
So, yes, we discussed this, I think, in the preview, in the season preview as well. I think we needed a centre back. We still do. There is a 4th centre back. We lost Dejan Lovren at the end of last season, right? I think he went to Zenit. So we lost him, and we didn't really replace Lovren at all. And talks are that Fabinho might be the makeshift centre back if we need him to be one, which again worries me because Matip's injury record is not really the best. And I think Joe Gomez also has had his lengthy spells on the sidelines as well. And also what that does is that also means there's very little competition right now for Joe Gomez. And that could be a problem for a young centre back when you don't have somebody who is breathing down your neck and he wants to come into the side. So I think it is an issue. But to answer your question about what happens when we go away to Old Trafford, White Hart Lane, remember this, even last season, we conceded 2 goals to Norwich, right? So we did concede, I think it was 1 goal or 2 goals to Norwich at Anfield. Yeah, it's probably 1. But I think our first clean sheet wasn't for the first, I think, few games. Liverpool kept conceding goals, and there were silly goals that we kept conceding. And then I think towards the middle of the season, we started getting really defensively compact. So it's still early days, I think. Again, another point to note is the likes of Van Dijk, Trent Alexander-Arnold, everybody was away. Even Robertson, away on international duty, came back only, I think, towards the end of the week. So they didn't get a lot of time to sort of train together before this game. Could be a factor again, like Nidhi said, it wasn't like we made a defensive error. It was just something which was an individual mistake. As a unit, there were no mistakes that were made. It's just something that happens in a few games, and you got to just take it after maybe a few
If
games.
I was Liverpool, I'd be a little wary about doing the Fernandinho mistake, which what Pep did. You don't want to take your best player from midfield and slot him back because you do have a good...
Absolutely.
Okay, Keita could have a great year,
Absolutely.
but why are you tempting that, right? Just go for a backup guy. Anyone who can come off the bench even. Don't do that mistake. You mess up the player's mind, and when he comes back second half, back ahead, the midfield then is out of sync. So yeah, that's all I want to add there.
And Naby Keita, I don't think Naby Keita can do what Fabinho does anyway. Fabinho is the midfield marshal, and I don't think Naby Keita...
Different roles.
Yeah.
So just to wrap that up, I think Eric Dyer was tried in a similar position last season with Tottenham, and it didn't really work out for them. I think these are all makeshift arrangements that you need to adapt when these things come into place. But the question, therefore, that looms is, why should a Liverpool have to adapt when they've come off such a strong season? But we'll keep that for later. And a quick note on Marcelo Bielsa and his men in white. I thought, what a Premier League debut. Yes, they didn't win the game. Yes, they lost to Liverpool, but 16 years in the making. What a return to the Premier League, wasn't it?
Great return. Obviously, the attacking style of football is not the only thing I want to give a touch upon. It's also the quality of passes. They were picking out the right passes. And you can focus on the mistake for the goal, but you can also pay respect to Leeds that way. Despite having Virgil van Dijk and Trent, they were constantly attacking down that side. They weren't getting scared. Gomez was a guy, in fact, was left in between Virgil and Trent's lacking and Gomez was running around. I think you guys will agree, right? Gomez looked bad, but it wasn't really his fault. But where I'm a little wary about this is Leeds also have a new centre back pairing, and you could see that they're struggling with that. Liverpool are getting the goals in, so they were like, you know what, we'll just score 1+. There will be games going against the likes of Fulham, they'll be going next, likes of Arsenal. They could get hammered when they go against those sides. So they need to be a little more wary about that. While the attacking play is great and they can score too, you don't want them to be the Bournemouths or the Norwiches where they're getting the goals in, they're conceding too many. So that is something you need to be watch out. But I don't see them doing a Sheffield United. I do see them sticking around for sure in the Premier League next
And
year.
just to add to what he's saying, there's not many teams that come to Anfield and dominate possession and edge Liverpool in possession as well as passes completed, right? So I think first half Leeds had more passes than Liverpool as well. So it says that it's not just, you get a lot of teams that win against the traditional top 4 or 6 sides by playing long balls and just breaking. But I think Leeds actually played really good football as well. So, they'd be an interesting prospect. I think they could easily be the next Wolves or Sheffield United in the Premier League this season.
Yep, very much. In fact, we're all football fans and we love it when the optics work, right? And I think Leeds were fantastic to watch. And that's the win for football in a larger context. Speaking of the successes of Leeds, the success of Leeds in defeat, let's talk about someone who didn't really succeed in defeat. Jose Mourinho and his men in white at Tottenham Hotspur. Nidhi, it was always going to be a very, very tactical battle. You've got two of the world's greatest managers in Jose Mourinho and Carlo Ancelotti. A lot of people forget Carlo Ancelotti was the former AC Milan, the great AC Milan manager, won so much with them, took Real to very differentiated heights. Tactically, it was a bit of a drab initially, but I think Ancelotti, in my analysis, got the better of Jose in midfield. And I think it was in midfield where the battle was won. Agree, disagree? And what was your take on, let's talk about Tottenham first. What is wrong with this side at the moment?
So, first of all, I agree. The game was actually won by Everton in the midfield. And that's where, Carlo has strengthened the most. I mean, all his signings virtually are in midfield. So, clearly, that was the problem area for Everton. And they have, strengthened there. Now, coming to your question about Spurs. Well, first of all, I don't think there is anything wrong with Spurs. People, a lot of times in the larger context, don't pay respect to Everton. I still think Everton are not the team to break into the top 4 because of, consistency problems, but they can produce some very good performances. They are very much capable of that. And now with Carlo at helm, they can do much better. Now, I don't think there is anything wrong with Spurs. Jose, frankly, this is something we discussed in our preview as well. I think Spurs are going to be a big part of the equation when it comes to the top 4. I would say, and I would stick my neck out and say more than Arsenal. Because Jose knows the grind, right? You have to, he knows the Premier League. He has worked in it. He's won the league. He has won, many tough matches here. And, Arteta, although I do respect him a lot in terms of, his adaptability and everything, he is not at the level of Jose Mourinho yet. And let's not forget, Spurs have some really, really good players, right? You're talking about Harry Kane, you're talking about Dele Alli, you're talking about Son. But to the match, in the match specifically, I think Everton, like you rightly mentioned, they gained advantage in the midfield. And that's where the game was won.
Yep, Ancelotti and his 3 wise men, so to speak, getting the better over Jose Mourinho. The 3 men I speak of are his signings, Alan Doucouré and James Rodriguez. I'll move on to who I believe are the pretenders for this season to a large extent. And I say pretenders in a very respectful sense. Wolves and Leicester City. Leicester, of course, the surprise package of this decade, one would argue, and, they've done phenomenally well. Although in a lot of previews, we did speak about how this could be Leicester's season of undoing and how, they have not strengthened enough. They might they might dip below the top 10, given that the surroundings have actually strengthened better. But solid performance against West Bromwich Albion, and Wolves, even more solid performance away from home at Sheffield United. So what do you make of these two sides, and what, according to you, is success for Wolves and Leicester as we move into the season?
So I think Wolves, I think, would continue to be in the mix in the top 10 even this season, right? So if you look at their performance again, tough game, Sheffield United, you'd sort of put them in the same bracket in terms of their goals and ambitions this season after what they did last season. I thought they were phenomenal against Sheffield United. Again, first half, there was no competition whatsoever. I thought Wolves just were completely dominant. Sheffield still had they did give them a run for their money in the second half, but again, Wolves were compact. Their front line is phenomenal, man. I'm a huge fan of both Raul Jimenez and Adama Traore. I think they had fabulous games. Work really, really hard, and Jimenez's goal was it was spectacular, dude. So I thought Wolves, again, they're showing signs that under Nuno they have a clear plan. They know what they want to do. They're getting good players in, right? So they may not be established players. So I know Joao Moutinho was the exception, but if you look at their midfield now, and you look at, I think it was Vitinho. What was his? What's the guy's name? The youngster they got from Porto on loan, 20-year-old kid, right, who came towards the latter stages of the game. So I think he was good as well. And again, if you look at, I think Leicester, I have my reservations still because again, West Bromwich Albion, you expect Leicester to win. Two of them again were penalties to Vardy. So again, I didn't see enough to make a judgment yet about Leicester. But Leicester, I think, will do well against the bottom half. But against the top half teams, Leicester could struggle, especially in the second half, because you usually see Brendan Rodgers' teams being defensively poor after the second half of the season, right? During the second half of the season, it's been a trend, even at Liverpool, even though we were winning in that phenomenal Luis Suarez season where he just went berserk, him and Sturridge. But if you look at our defense in the second half of the season, it was atrocious. We were conceding goals for fun. So I think that's going to be a challenge because they don't really have anyone apart from their starting 11 who can come in and make sure that the quality does not drop. I don't think they do have those kind of players. So difficult, yet. They could still do well. They will be in the top 10 for sure. I think Rodgers is a good enough manager. But I don't think they're going to have as good a season as last time where they're going to be in the run for the top 5 again. I don't think it's going to be that good this year.
Yep. They'll drop down to 8th for me. Yep.
Any ending note with you on this fixture? Because I know that you have Saïss from Wolves in your FPL team. And I thought that was a very random punt. But obviously there's some science to this because he did score. And what is your take on A, putting Saïss in your FPL team? Was it a punt? And B, obviously you value their defense, or you value the way that Espirito Santo sets up his defense.
I value the way he sets up the defense, right? We spoke about this in 2 of our FPL episodes. I won't go too much into that. But Vinagre was a player I was looking at, and I was so sick of the fact that he might not start, will start. I had 0.5 in the bank created with a goalkeeper drop. I took it and says I kept telling everyone in the backup, I happily will go for. Had him 20 game weeks last year. Worth the punt at 4.5 that time, right? Yellow card candidate for sure, loses out on bonuses, but Says is a solid part of it, as much as Billy Bolly is and Johnny is. Moving on to Wolves and what I want to close off with this fixture at least. I like the way the second half of the game, if you saw towards, let's say, the 65th minute onwards, Wolves are out of the game. They clearly, their normal pressing style, the defensive style, they kind of got gassed out early. Sheffield were on the attack. In fact, I feel Sheffield could have got snug in one goal. They could have got a double. They could have taken a draw, right? But that's why Wolves are so good. They made Jimenez just play right, not even center. He was towards the right, and the balls were just going there and stopping, and they're just slowing the play down. That tells you that the guy at the top knows what he's doing. The players on the pitch know what they're doing, and that comes from the manager. And if you see this kind of Wolves side, without the struggles of Europa, they might still not make top 6, but they definitely will have a say in who finishes top 6. They will take those points up even more this year.
Yep, fair enough. And to wrap, guys, there was obviously the last fixture that happened late night. Chelsea took on Brighton and came off with an impressive 1-3 away win. Nidhi, there's only one talking point about Chelsea this season, right? It's their signings. And it's the kind of signings that they've made, and it's the quantum of signings that they made. I once might have even said that, at what point do a lot of signings become one too many, right? Because there should be a balance between your sort of established team, and you don't want to, as any manager, you don't want to be fielding a side of 11 new individuals as Aston Villa would have probably seen last season. Well, not all 11, but they did make one too many. So, Nidhi, of course, so, Jorginho once again on the score sheet, Reece James with a crazy goal, Kurt Zuma again, chipping in. But what do you make of this new Chelsea construct? You obviously watched Timo Werner in action last night. You watched Kai Havertz. What is in store from this Chelsea side?
Look, I mean, this I have already said. Chelsea do not have the advantage of surprise this season. A pre-season is not just for the money. It's not just for the tickets. It's for your signings to gel together. Chelsea did not have that with so many signings. Add to that the expectations. So again, too early to say, but Chelsea will find it difficult to have all the players play together. Bear in mind, Ben Chilwell wasn't playing, last night. Kovacic wasn't there. There were players that weren't there, that they have signed. And these players will also come in purely because of the amount of money that Chelsea has paid. Yeah. I do see them playing well because, Kai Havertz, for example, he did not have a particularly very good game last night, but let's not forget he's a quality footballer, right? Timo Werner, I think, was still much better. One of the things that struck me was how he, came back to defend and put in a tackle when they were 3-1 up, and he came back to his own box to defend. So clearly, he's ready to put in the work. But Chelsea as a team, they will find it difficult because let's remember this was Brighton, right? Like you said, there will be other sides that might not be as forgiving. But one of the players I'd like to mention is Lamptey. Yeah. What a performance! Like fantastic.
I felt that that's what they were actually the stronger team. Brighton, the penalty kind of took the wind out of them. They were actually on the offensive. One note I would like to add: if I had to see Werner and Ziyech, Werner was the stronger of the signings in this game. Havertz, sorry. But Havertz, you have to understand, he came in for his first training right after the international break, didn't get any time. Unfair to judge him. But I feel that Loftus-Cheek has no place in this side once Ziyech is back. Ziyech on the right, Havertz behind Werner, Kovacic back, Chilwell on the left. This side is going to be menacing and something to be worried about.
And also one important thing that Lampard mentioned as well yesterday. I don't know if you guys heard his pre-match interview, right? He said that he thinks that Havertz and Werner are also good human beings, right? And this is, again, I think it might be a very philosophical thing to discuss, but he's not brought in players who are superstars in their heads, right? He's got in players that he believes will add to the team, and they're all young as well, right? So I think, again, I agree with Nidhi that it's going to be difficult for them to gel instantly, but I think they've got a good long-term plan in place because these are all players who are in their early 20s, are going to, if the club uses them well, will probably end up staying for 5 to 6 years at the club and give their best years here. So I think it's a really, really, it's going to be a difficult season in terms of expectations, yes. But I think Chelsea will live up to some of those. I don't think it's going to be as bad because they've not gotten established superstars. They've gotten players who are young and can adapt easier than most other superstars in established systems would. So I think it'll be they're going to be a threat this season for sure.
All right. So obviously Chelsea with a lot of respect coming in from our guest pundits today. So just to quickly wrap up this segment on the Premier League roundup, Crystal Palace did host Southampton at home with a goal from Zaha, earning them the 3 points, and Newcastle with an impressive win away from home at West Ham. We'll talk about their struggles in a different episode. As it stands, gentlemen, Arsenal top the Premier League table even after having played a game and not just by the alphabet. Leicester, Chelsea and Newcastle follow in the top 4. Of course, United, City and 2 others are yet to play, Burnley and 1 more. So this was our Game Week 1 roundup. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us on this review. And we'll be more than happy to have you have you back again, maybe once Liverpool lose their opening, their first game of the season. So in the meantime, guys, thank you for watching.
We are not coming on the show.
Well, I really hope to have you guys back. So thank you so much for watching. Do follow us. If you're watching this, do subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's Football Pundits. Do follow us on our social media pages. Sriram and Nidhi's accounts there as well. You can give them a follow for some interesting football and philosophical content. So on behalf of the Pundits, Abhishek Iyer and Animesh Thakkar signing off. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.